So people are more enthusiastic about her, but what are their approval ratings like, both Vice President Kamala Harris as well as former President Donald Trump?
The favorability ratings for each of these candidates is nothing to brag about. In both cases, a majority say they feel unfavorable, either very unfavorable or mostly unfavorable. But it's not a huge difference between the two.
And what do we think about RFK Jr.? We know that he dropped out of the race. He threw his endorsement and support behind Donald Trump, but he's going to be on the ballot in Iowa. Is he and his appearance on the ballot going to impact this race, and how significantly so?
Well, all I can do is see what my data kind of tell me. This, again, tea leaves sort of thing. So what I see when I look at the people who say they voted for Trump in 2020, and the people who voted for Biden in 2020, and how they are voting now for RFK Jr., there's very little difference between that group. The bigger group that RFK Jr. is getting is from people who did not vote in 2020. Either they sat it out, or they weren't eligible to vote, or they weren't encouraged to vote for whatever reason. But I don't see this as something that currently, as the data set say today, is something dividing, but no advantage to either candidate.
You told the Des Moines Register that the findings from the poll, quote, signal a change in the mood of the electorate. What is that mood, do you think?
There are a couple of things. Certainly the willingness to say, I will definitely vote. That's how we count you as a likely voter. That number increased says something about an interest that greater than what we saw in June. And that certain subgroups, and it's kind of easy to Monday morning quarterback this and say it's the groups that have been most affected by some of the Trump policies that are now saying they're going to show up in greater numbers than we saw in June. So women, you understand, younger people seem more energized. People with more college education, that's typically a more pro-democratic group. And it's just a much bigger showing, women saying that they're going to vote compared to men. So all of those, it sort of is what's going into the pudding here. And it looks like there are more Harris supporters that are jumping into the bowl.
We are less than 50 days from Election Day. Read the tea leaves for us. I know that's what we've been doing this entire conversation, but what are you specifically looking out for next in these next less than 2 months?
Well, I'm going to be looking for things that are outside of the polling world, because if there is, in fact, a greater inclination, attitude, what the parties are going to need to do, what the campaigns are going to need to do, is turn those inclinations into hard votes. So we'll be watching the Get Out the Vote effort, and how many, and that's tracked on a daily basis by the auditor's office, so you can see what's happening in terms of people requesting and turning in absentee ballots, early voting. We'll see signals of that right away. That tends to tilt in favor of Democrats, so there's no sense that it wouldn't be that would lead to a Republican shutout. If we were to see Republicans embracing early voting and absentee voting, I think that would be a real strong sign that the Trump numbers may be ahead of what our polling is showing.
Dr. Selzer, when new numbers from Iowa come out, I hope you come on, join me again to break them down. Thank you so much for your time today.
That's been my pleasure. Thank you.